Dis After Dark Podcast is sponsored by Unofficial.com, the home of Halloween Horror Nights news and rumors all year round. Find us on the web at www.hhnunofficial.com. So stop the fog machines and clear the cobwebs. It's time for another episode of the podcast that's nearly the same as all the others.
Wendy Presser at Magical Journeys Travel is proud to be a sponsor of the After Dark Podcast Network. Whether you've been to Disney 1 or 100 times, there's still lots of planning involved. Let Wendy be the one up at midnight when your window opens to get that Be Our Guest reservation or that coveted Anna and Elsa fastpass for your own princess. Mention that you heard this ad on one of our podcasts and get $25 off your deposit with any trip package. Be sure to ask about her generous onboard credits for Disney Cruise Lines as well. Find her on Twitter at WP Magic Journeys or WPMagicJourneys.com.
Warning. This show contains childish adult content and is intended for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised. The views spoken are ours and ours alone, not those of any other bugger. If you're easily offended, we strongly suggest finding another podcast. Everybody neat and pretty, then on with the show.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Dis After Dark. I am Nick and I'm joined by, two people that are both named Paul. Paul Dubs, Paul Washington and Mr. Dolan. How are you both doing?
Doing good, thanks, Nick.
I did not know how to start the show off when, it's easy when there's a Paul, someone else and another Paul, because then you've got a gap in the middle. But when there's two of you, it's incredibly difficult. So
rose between two thorns.
Yeah,
something like that.
Nick between two poles.
Yes. Oh, well, there's your show title, Craig. So, how have you both been doing?
Doing good, thanks.
Because you've both been away, really. Well, one of you's been away, and the other one's just been away. I think it's safe to say. So, of course, people that will listen to our last bonus episode would know exactly where Mr. Washington has been, although I'm sure that might come up in conversation later. But before you turn off, this is not going to be a Disneyland Paris special, okay? we've had a few of those, and the viewing figures have been down. So we're going back to basics.
Or that could be that we disappeared.
There is also that. We did, I don't know if you've noticed, and if you thought that we weren't making new episodes, we have. And I don't think we still really know why, but we were removed from iTunes. And that then had a knock-on effect on some other services. So some people were still getting their subscriptions if you subscribe to the show, which of course is the best way of getting the show. Because what you can do is you get the episodes delivered straight to you, and then you can just delete them off as you don't want to listen to them. But for people that didn't have a subscription, we just weren't showing up as having new episodes. So anyone searching for us couldn't find us. So, it's been an odd few weeks, but we're back.
As far as we know, it was just a technical glitch. We didn't get booted out for...
we probably did. There was a lot of talk about beef curtains recently. I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
There we go again.
Yeah, and I'm not even going to bleep it. If we're chucked off iTunes, it's trial and error. If we're kicked off iTunes, I know it's because of that phrase. So it's fine. So, we do have a disclaimer at the beginning of this show, so I don't know what that would cause a problem.
And I think Craig set it as explicit now as well.
Oh, right, okay. We do, even though we do have an explicit tag at the beginning of the show, but maybe people just skip it, I don't know. Anyway, let's start the show off as we do with, I'd say each and every show, but nearly each and every show, with a quick round of what is everybody drinking.
Well, I have an Old Moot cider, and it's kiwi and lime.
Kiwi and lime.
Cheers.
Ah, very good. Cheers to you, sir. Mr. Washington, I assume you're training?
I am, but I'm actually celebrating the fact that I am actually doing the Bibbity Bobbity Boo Challenge. I am registered, so I'm having a Jack Daniels.
Of course, well, everybody needs to do that. So for those unaware, what is the Bibbity Bobbity Doo Challenge?
The Bibbity Bobbity Boo Challenge is the Disneyland Paris Half Marathon Weekend Challenge. It's the 10K on the Saturday morning and a half marathon on the Sunday morning. But I'm also glutton for punishment and doing the 5K on the Friday evening as well. That isn't part of the challenge.
That is a definite glutton for punishment. I can't even work out how many kilometres that is in total, but
it's
quite
31.
31 kilometres. That's, I suppose that's not bad over the course of the weekend, but
it's not a dopey challenge.
No.
But...
Is that what Craig does on his bike rides? Is that a dopey challenge?
That's just being on a train with Craig.
No, I meant on his magical bike rides that he does. That's just something scary going on a train journey, I imagine, with Craig. I'm not celebrating or anything. In fact, I'm still working. We're recording this at 9 o'clock in the evening. I'm still actually working at the moment, but I've given up a bit of time to do this podcast, so I'm celebrating with a Coors Light. When I say I'm working, by the way, officially I'm off the clock. So if anyone tries to grass me up, I'm actually off the clock. I'm just doing work in my own time, because that's dedication to the cause, you see. Cheers everyone. There's been a few bits of news of late, and Mr. Dolan, we've not heard from you for quite a while, so would you mind kicking us off?
Sure. Okay. One of the things I picked up was a change in the dining plan for 2018. Quite a significant one, really.
Yes.
So, apart from the usual price increase, the main change is that you can use your drink either for a counter service or a table service meal, and you can trade that for a speciality beverage, which also includes alcoholic beverages.
I know, finally, a dining plan that I can get behind.
That changes, or could change, the value of the dining plan quite a bit, because it even includes speciality cocktails.
Does it really?
Oh. It does. Mm-hmm.
And for those non-alcoholic drinkers, that also includes smoothies and milkshakes as well, I believe.
It does.
Yeah. Saying that, I don't know. I like a milkshake, but I don't know how many milkshakes I could have in a 3-week period. I'll be honest.
42 on the dining plan, I think. Well,
yes. No, I think you're right.
Probably 21. I don't think you get them in a quick service, but
no, it's possibly true. But yeah. So a friend of mine, would you believe it? I've actually got friends. Actually sent me over a link to this. Somebody as well who has never been to Disney World, but I think it's been kind of going a bit mad in the press because they're saying it could save about £700 off your trip, this new dining plan. And so she kind of sent it over to me to have a look at. It improves the dining plan because it gives you better options.
That's right.
I think that's it. I still personally feel a little bit wary of the dining plan. Not wary, but my issue with the dining plan has always been that you can only use it on property. Obviously, you can only use it on property. So if you're going to Florida for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long, there are probably going to be days that you're going to go and visit Universal, maybe Busch Gardens, SeaWorld, some of the water parks. on those days you're probably not going to be using your dining plan. You're probably going to have to go and buy something there, or possibly you could go to another park and come back to the resort to have an evening meal. But that's always been my issue with it, is that, you know, unless you're not going to leave Disney property, you're probably not going to make the most of it. So do you think that this now gives better value for money in that regard?
Well, I think they've obviously listened to feedback, so I think they've made a couple of changes. This one for next year about the specialty drink, but then I think it started in 2017, maybe it started in 2016, but they allowed you to, instead of having a counter service meal that was an entree, a dessert, and a beverage, they allowed you then to change the dessert for a snack, which I thought was a good move. So they've obviously been listening to the feedback. And if you're staying on site, I don't think it's bad value for money, because we did notice that the counter service meals have, you know, they're pretty expensive. So it really depends on what you're doing. If we're staying on site, obviously most of the time we're eating in a Disney restaurant, but if we go off site, we'll either come back, as you said, come back later. But if we don't want to do that, we might eat somewhere else, and then we use the spare credit that we've got either for a breakfast, or we upgrade to like a signature restaurant. So you could say that, you know, you're spending money there that you don't need to, but it's quite fun to do that as well.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on your plans. P-Dubs, what do you make of the whole thing?
I think it's good that they're certainly looking at changing things for the better. I think a lot of people have always said, well, milkshakes are kind of a drink or even a dessert at times. So that, and I agree with you guys. I'm obviously planning for future trips, and we've had the dining plan previously. We've had the free dining plan, and we've then considered a couple of nights possibly at a Universal hotel, and we've kind of gone, well, we're going to have these floating credits that we aren't going to use. And then we've looked at it and gone, well, we could use them in a signature meal instead. And I know you're then spending out a bit of money while you're away from the resort, but it gives you that chance to change things up as well as sticking with the things that you know.
Yeah, that's right, Paul. Yeah, I mean, actually, that's one of the reasons why when we've looked at Universal resorts and we thought, right, let's spend a couple of nights in Universal, if we've had the free dining plan and you start factoring that in, you know, it makes you less likely to go and stay at Universal.
Yeah,
because
I know, I agree completely.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, right, based on that, and the fact that Universal is becoming more of a resort. You know, they've now got more on-site hotels than they've ever had, and expanding. They've just launched Volcano Bay. They've got the Nintendo World or Nintendo Land expansion that will be going in the next few years.
And the Game of Thrones third park.
Of course, how can we forget the Game of Thrones third gate? # Game of Thrones third gate. With that in mind, why has Universal not pulled this stunt?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't have as many restaurants yet, do they? I mean, it might be something that's in their future.
Doesn't matter. I mean, how many people go to Disney and go to, you know, even if you went, you know, very often to Disney World, and I'm talking, you know, every year or every couple of years, how many people can actually say they would go and try every restaurant? Most people would, might go to a new restaurant during their trip, you know, one or two, but will probably stick to ones that they like.
Yeah.
So, does it matter that Universal doesn't have all of those options? Plus, as well, you know, you've got City Walk. Maybe they could do a deal with some of the places in City Walk.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the bulk of the restaurants on City Walk are owned by Universal anyway now, aren't they?
I don't know. I don't know.
I believe that was the whole reason for the change-up, was that a lot of them are actually owned by Universal. That was the whole thing.
I mean, obviously Hard Rock isn't, but they've obviously got a very good relationship, and that could be seen as Signature Dining or something, the equivalent to. But I just think, they could be missing a trick. If they want people to spend more time on Universal property, surely it makes sense to do it. Even if they only offer it for, 7 days or 5 days. But I just think that is something that they could probably do to bring people over to spend more time. I don't know, other than possibly the Malibis, of people that spend more time in a Universal hotel than a Disney hotel, or off resort completely. Do you know what I mean? But you never hear of people spending. You never normally hear of people spending 2 or 3 weeks on Universal property.
Funnily enough, I met somebody at the weekend that did that, but I think it's only because they didn't sort of realise, the scale and that sort of thing. Right. But 2 weeks at the Hard Rock. 2 weeks at the Hard Rock, Jesus. Which is
That must have been pricey.
Yeah, is it a honeymoon, to be fair, but even so.
Yeah. But do you know what I mean? Like, I just think that could be something they do. And also as well, with the extra hotels that are built, they've also got restaurants. So they are slowly getting more places to eat. But I just think they're missing the trick.
Yeah. Do they have any kind of deal? I thought they had some kind of food package. I don't know if you call it a dining plan, but
I don't think it's basically you pay for what you get up front. I don't think there's any saving in it or anything like that. I think it is basically you're just paying up front for your meals.
Well, I think that's the reason why the dining plan is quite popular with people anyway. Is even though they know they could probably book it cheaper without a dining plan, or doing their own deals or whatever. The dining plan means that's one thing you don't have to worry too much about, because even if you are having those days out to different parks, it's only like a few days you'd have to spend the money on food rather than your 2 or 3 weeks, and everything on top.
And I think it's much easier for Disney as well because of the Magic Band and everything. I think with Universal they give you vouchers.
They do in Disneyland Paris though.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah, and that's rubbish as well.
Yeah, but I still think an option's better than, yes, you're right, the technology's there, but let's be honest, if that's the best thing the Magic Bands do, that's why it's been such an expensive flop. I know it's not, but there's a lot of money invested in that technology, and I don't think they're ever going to see the return on investment that they're expecting to.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Yeah, you're right, though. I think as they get bigger and bigger, it's got to be something that they're thinking about. And they've got quite a lot of restaurants if they could rope in the City Walk restaurants. But, that's the thing about Disney. If you look at the restaurants, there's a huge amount of restaurants across all the resorts, the boardwalk, Disney Springs, the parks, and almost all of them. There's a hell of a lot, yeah, but almost all of them are actually in the dining plan. There's only like Swan and Dolphin, and maybe a couple of others that aren't actually in the plan.
Also, so Disney Downtown. Sorry, I keep calling it Downtown Disney. Disney Springs is in the dining plan as well. So places like the T-Rex.
Yeah, they're all in it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's anywhere that isn't, but I don't think so. I think they're all in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I think that's a good way to kick off the show. Mr. Washington.
Let's talk Trump. Or shall we say talking Trump?
We've been talking Trump for freaking years.
It's one of the mainstays of the show. A load of American listeners just switch off. So, yes.
Usually I hit mute when there was a Trump imminent.
which is good for all of us, I suppose.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming, jumping in, that you're referring to the fake Trump.
The fake Trump, yes. Well, you could compare both being the same, to be honest. But obviously, it's now been confirmed that he will talk in the Hall of Presidents. He will give a speech.
Oh God!
Yet there is now a delay on the opening. It's going to be at least the fall before it opens now, when it was meant to be opening in the next month. This is rumoured due to the fact that they've had a bit of a spat between the White House and Disney as to what he's going to say.
Oh, wow.
Apparently, he wanted complete control of his speech.
Oh, there's a surprise.
No, it's not happening.
That guy needs to take assertiveness classes.
Oh,
he's too much of a shrinking violet.
I think he should, because we know he likes to copy speeches from films, as he's done with The Dark Knight Rises, and was it Mean Girls as well, I think. So maybe he could sing the opening number or talk the opening number from the cheerleading comedy Bring It On, because I think that would suit him really well. Love that film.
I quite like the rumour that I heard was that he wasn't going to give a speech, he was going to text it.
He was what?
And tweet it. He was going to tweet it. So it appeared on a screen instead. So it was interactive with the audience. That isn't going to happen. That was a joke. But I quite like that idea, rather than him speaking, to have him tweet it instead.
I think we look at Trump a bit differently. What I've learned fairly recently is, even after everything that's happened, is still quite how popular in certain quarters of the country that Trump is in America. I just automatically assumed that everyone thought he was a bumbling idiot. I mean, he is America's Boris Johnson, and we don't want Bojo. So I'm surprised that it's not replicated. But having said that, I did feel a little uneasy in the fact that every president, every acting president has, as far as I know, at least, recorded a speech for their audio animatronic in that attraction. And
everyone since Bill Clinton.
Yeah, and they weren't going to allow Trump to do that. And I think you can't really pick and choose. Like, when you've set a precedent like that, you can't really turn around and say, I know we've done it for everyone else, but because you're a bumbling idiot, we're not going to let your animatronic talk. Do you know what I mean? It just didn't sit right. So, although I dread to think what it's going to sound, well, I know it's going to sound like, but what it's going to say, I think it's the right thing for them to do.
Yeah.
I do think it's
right. It's good competition.
Yeah.
Sorry, Paul.
The one plus point with it being delayed is that we're only going to have to put over him for 3 years in there instead of 3.5 or whatever it would have been. So I suppose it's shortened it.
Yeah.
4 years.
Something tells me there's going to be lots of technical difficulties with this animatronic. It's going to be 2021 before they get it up and running. Be a bit like the Disco Yeti.
just strobe lights.
Yeah, he'll be in B mode.
I think it's a shame that they only do give this treatment to the president and not anyone else in his cabinet, because I would love an audio animatronic of is it Kellyanne Conway? His right hand lady.
Yeah.
She's something else. she's something else. Whenever you see her on the news, she's quite special. So it's a shame. I think she's even more entertaining than he is.
I wonder if there'll be any incidents of kind of vandalism and abuse.
Has there been before?
Well, I don't know from the audience or from the guests, but I know Bill Clinton's animatronic. Allegedly, they keep finding condoms in his pockets. Allegedly. All right. So I always thought if I got a lifetime ban from Walt Disney World, it'd be for something like swimming to Discovery Island like that other guy, or something like that. But I'm not so sure now.
No, it could be something as simple as that. Fair enough. Yeah. Well, So it'd be interesting to see. Yeah, it's going to happen. It's just when, I suppose.
It's good. It's a good listener competition, actually. So when Trump is no longer president, you usually kind of park him a little bit to the side, don't they, and then steadily move him back as they get, more and more into the past. But where could you reuse the Trump animatronic somewhere in Walt Disney World? What attraction?
I was just attraction. I was going to think of one of Craig's favourite toilets.
What could be, yeah.
I was going to say in one of the enclosures at Animal Kingdom.
Oh, I've got it.
Yeah.
Perfect spot for it. Competition closed. No more entries. The Mexican Pavilion.
Oh,
Next to the wall.
Behind the wall.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
We're
You
behind
see
one of
like
the
this wall,
construction
and there's
walls.
like just a blonde wig peeping on the top of it.
People could think it's Boris Johnson then. Slightly different hair, just as absurd.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a thing. Politicians with stupid hair. Maybe like that explains a lot of them. Because our very own Boris Johnson's the same.
The other option would be to put him in the Muppet Show.
Too realistic.
Yeah, not funny enough.
And that as well. But if you have got a better suggestion, honestly, do let us know. Because we're not the funniest people, but we try. Miss Stoner, did you have anything else you wanted to bring up?
Oh, damn. You're coming back to me again.
I don't have to.
It's your turn, Nick. Go on. Put me on the spot.
The only thing I really had to bring to the table this week, so I've been pretty busy, is the fact, and we've talked about it before, but I suppose it's because it is definitely happening. It is official, and that is that when we record this at the end of June, we're just a few days away from the closure of Galaxy Quest? Disney Quest.
Yeah.
Never seen Galaxy Quest, always wanted to see. But yes,
Oh,
Disney
great.
Quest.
You've never seen Galaxy Quest?
No,
It's fantastic.
Oh, I know. Everyone tells me so. I like everyone in the cast pretty much. It's just one of those things that I've recorded it a few times, and I've just deleted it for space. Ironically, but yeah, it's one of those films that I don't know how I've gone this far without seeing it, because I know that I'll probably love it. So yeah, if any listeners want to hook me up, let me know. But Disney Quest, which is something that I definitely have been to and have loved equally, it is going away, and I'm sad. I mean, I've obviously not been back since my last visit, so I don't know how bad it is now, but I'll always have a soft spot for it. I adore arcades anyway. In fact, I was quite gutted because it was Father's Day the other week, and I didn't say we didn't do anything, and I didn't suggest anything to my wife because quite often she is very good at organising things. I didn't want to kind of tread on her toes because of personal circumstances. She didn't do anything, and all I really wanted to do was travel down to Southend and spend 20 quid in the arcades and just have a few good hours playing games, because I love that. I like playing video games at home, but there's something about the noise and the experience and the atmosphere of being in an arcade that I think maybe it's a childhood thing. I've never grown out of it, but I just always loved the fact that Disney Quest was there, and I suppose in some ways a bit of nostalgia. Although it had modern video game arcade machines as well, there was quite a lot of older machines. I just think it's the whole atmosphere, and I get it, it's a massive, massive building, so it's probably prime location. But I've also heard rumours that once again the NBA concept is out.
Yeah, I read that today as well.
So, maybe they're closing Disney Quest down because, they've given everyone a deadline to do so. But it could very well be that there's now nothing to put in it. Now, I'd imagine that, as I said, it's prime location in Disney Springs. There are, and we've talked before about the fact that there's no Apple Store, for example, there, which is quite shocking considering, one, how big Apple are, and secondly, the relationship that they have with each other. But could we now be seeing something else take over at least some of that building? If it's not going to be the NBA, what else could it be?
Yeah, it is a shame. I mean, I also have a soft spot for it. A lot of people go to Walt Disney World and they never even go in.
Well, I think there's always been, well, not always, but especially of late, there's been a lot of confusion with your tickets in the UK, because we get different tickets to what people buy in America, so we do get it, and it always used to be included and was featured as being included on the tickets, and then it was dropped. But I think that was only unofficially, because if you went to Galaxy Quest, if you went there with your ticket, they'd let you in.
That's right, yeah. We did it in November.
Yeah. So I think there was some confusion there. I think it was fairly expensive. Was it about $59 or something to go in?
It's something like that, 40 odd, I think. Now.
Which is quite expensive for what it is, and I get that.
Yeah.
And I think they probably missed a trick, because what they probably could have done instead was done it in time zones. So maybe charged you $25, and that gave you 4 hours access. So that between 9 and 1, that would be your kind of slot. I don't know. It's just that. The kind of selling point was the fact that you pay to go in, and then you can return later on, kind of thing. But I don't think most people want to do that. Most people will just go there, spend a few hours in there, have some fun, and then leave. And they're probably not going to go back that same day.
No, I mean, that's right. I mean, we'd combine it with the trip to Downtown Disney, as it was in those days. So we'd go in for a couple of hours, usually at the end of the night. That's usually how we'd finish the night. And, you think back to originally, it had a cheesecake factory in there. Some really good food in there.
Yeah, I remember having some quite good chicken tenders in there.
Yeah.
Well, I think they were standard ones, to be fair. You could probably get throughout the resort, but that was one place that I remembered having those in particular while sitting by the cheesecake factory. But yeah, I think it was just a bit unloved. I mean, I can't remember. I think the last time I remember them doing anything with it really was when they stuck in a Fix-It Felix machine when Wreck-It Ralph came out.
Yeah.
You had those massive attractions. You had the Mighty Ducks pinball, and you had the Buzz Lightyear attraction, didn't you? And they were looking quite tired. You had the
Pirates. That was our favourite.
Pirates of the Caribbean. And was it Aladdin as well?
There's an Aladdin virtual reality ride,
That's right.
And then you had the Jungle Cruise on the raft.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Cyberspace Mountain.
Yes.
Where you made your own roller coaster.
Yep.
And then you rode it, and everything would fall out of your pockets, and you could get a little video, a little like Betamax. It was a V2000 video to take home. But yeah, we loved it. We thought it was great. I mean, it's just sad because what's going to go in there is just going to be a shop, really. And, that's fine. There's lots of good shops in Disney Springs, but you're replacing something that's entertainment for just another shop. And it's such a shame, because I think the concept's great, really.
Well, that's it, because, I mean, what entertainment is left? I mean, you've obviously got the AMC that's still down there. And you've got Lanubu. Is it Lanubu?
Yeah,
Lanubu,
Lanubu,
changing.
which that whole end of Disney Springs is going to be dead because Disney Quest's going and Cirque du Soleil's going in December.
I think it's changing shows though, isn't it? There's another show coming.
They've not confirmed what it is. They've not confirmed whether it's Cirque du Soleil or whether it's going to be something Disney related or what. But it's closing in December.
I would be shocked if they don't bring in another production. Yeah. And I was looking. Funny enough, I was looking at a list the other day. Do you ever get this? You get down the rabbit hole on Wikipedia, and you start looking at random things, and that will lead you to something else. And I was kind of looking at the history of the whole, how it started off in Canada, and then when it kind of became big, and it was successful, but it was when it started to take over Las Vegas that it really became world renowned. Funny enough, and at one point, not nearly every hotel, but probably about 75% of hotels on the strip at one point had a Cirque du Soleil show, and some of those didn't last very long, but some of them have lasted 15, 20 years. And to say with Lanubu there, that show, I think I read it open in 1998. So it's coming up to, it's certainly around that time. So, it might be 1990, but it's coming up to almost 20 years. Of being the same show, and most people, we went to see it on our honeymoon, and really, no, actually, sorry, we didn't saw it on the first honeymoon, and it was a good show, but I had no desire to go back and watch it again. Now, if it was a different Cirque du Soleil show, I would have gone back. So I think if you're looking to change it, that will probably bring people in, because how many repeat customers did it have? I'm sure it wouldn't have had that many people. I don't think I've ever met anyone who goes to Disney and every time they goes to see Cirque du Soleil. I don't think I've met anyone that's seen it more than once, to be honest. And I'm sure there are people, but what I mean is that most people, it's a one and done thing. So I think a new show would freshen it up. And if you look at what has kind of worked in Vegas and what hasn't, there's quite a few shows that they could probably bring over, or they've retired from touring because they have touring productions as well. And one of them, and I don't really know how it would go down in Vegas, but in Florida, but they did a Elvis Presley one, and it only ran for about 17 months, I think, 18 months. It didn't last very long at all, because the hotel they stuck it in just wasn't busy enough for it, and they replaced it with another show which lasted about another year, and then they just scrapped it completely. It's not going to be successful in every place. So I mean, I wonder if they've still got the agreement with the Elvis estate of sticking that in there, because you would have thought that would be quite a big show to have. In there. But I think any Cirque du Soleil show that's new or hasn't been seen before would be successful. In fact, I'll tell you what is a shame is that they're doing the Pandora show as a touring production, because they're actually doing a Cirque du Soleil Avatar show, but it's on an arena tour.
Right.
So I'm guessing that because it's being done as an arena tour, that they wouldn't consider doing it as a permanent, because they don't normally mix and match.
No,
if they're doing something as a tour, they don't normally have it somewhere as a permanent. Normally different productions, but that would of course been ideal as a time. But I think if because Paul said they haven't announced it's going to definitely be Cirque du Soleil. It could be Disney putting something in there themselves. I think the problem with that is that you then have all the risk, because if you're renting it out to a Cirque du Soleil, then you're going to be doing it on some kind of profit basis. Whilst if it's you running the show, you've got to spend that out. So if it's not successful, you're going to be hit for it. So it'll be interesting. But have you heard any rumours at all?
I've not seen anything as to what it could be.
Okay.
No. Just going back to the Disney Quest thing, though, they're auctioning off the games, aren't they, to cast members?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I could ask Heather to get one, but I don't know how she'd get it back in a suitcase. I've always fancied a Galaxians in the living room.
Yeah, the shipping might be a little high.
Be a bit tough, wouldn't it? And then the voltage would be wrong.
Have you ever actually looked at how much an arcade machine costs?
No.
They're not terribly expensive. Well,
yeah,
they are, but what I mean is that in the grand scheme of things, like you could probably get you probably wouldn't get an original now, but you might be able to. But certainly a kind of refurbished, Space Invaders or Galaxian, that kind of machine for probably £500-600.
Yeah, it's not a lot to them, really, is it? I mean,
no, not. I mean, you can make your own one. I mean, there are people that make them, and you can buy the signs for them and stickers, and do everything like that. And yes, that's even cheaper. But I mean, I've always wanted a pinball table, and if you go and buy one of, there's only one manufacturer of pinball tables in the world now, which is so disappointing because I don't like their tables at all. But gone are the days when you used to get like Williams and Galoob and Bally and companies like that. And but if you wanted to go and buy a Stern pinball machine, which is like the latest and greatest, you're probably looking at anywhere between £2,000 and £4,000, depending on the edition that you buy, because they do some limited edition version of their pinball tables. But if you're buying a second-hand pinball table, then you're probably looking at about £500-600 for quite a decent one. Not so much Adam's Family; that's always going to be expensive. But you can pick them up second-hand, not that expensive, and I'd much rather have one of those. Apparently, it's not an ideal table to eat your dinner off, because that's how I was trying to convince the wife that would be a good idea, but didn't go down very well. So that might have to wait. But
it's the sloping that causes a problem, isn't it?
that is, yeah. You need, maybe someone could invent like some detachable legs that would kind of flatten it off a little bit, level it off, so it does become not so slopey. So that was my thing. Anyway,
okay.
So it's giving you enough time now, Mr. D. Come on.
All right. So I don't think we've talked about this before, but I haven't listened to the last episode. I've got to confess, because I haven't had any time to listen to podcasts. But
neither did a lot of people looking by stats.
Yeah. But there was an article I read about the crowd levels dropping in Pandora, and why that might be, and you may or may not be aware, but if you're a Disney World resort guest, then you can get into Pandora after the park is shut, basically.
Wow!
So you get extra time in Pandora.
And I suppose when the lights are down as well.
Yeah, that's right. So they reckon that's helping to reduce wait times for Flight of Passage and the Navi journey. But I think they're still looking at an average of about 2 hours for Flight of Passage wait times.
Yeah, I've seen that they have gone down quite a lot from the 6 hours. Well, it has for most people. I have seen people queuing up for 4 hours for it recently, whilst the ride's been down. But as long as the ride's up, then I think the days of the 6 hour queue are kind of behind them for now. It'll be interesting to see what happens, I think, later this summer. Because, I'd say July and August are probably quite peak times, aren't they, for Disney World?
So that's right. So this was originally through mid-July, but Disney's just extended it to mid-August. And it isn't just for Pandora, obviously, it's for the whole of the Animal Kingdom, but they're also putting on extra showings of the Rivers of Light nighttime spectacular.
I don't remember you saying it was very spectacular, though.
It was good. It just wasn't great. But having said that, I've got to be careful because we did only see it once, and there's been a couple of things where you ride it the first time, you think, yeah, it was okay, and then you go back again and you think, well, actually, it's better than I remember. So I would like to see it again. It is very clever and definitely worth a watch. It's just that like the music was good, but it didn't really grip me. There wasn't like any kind of emotional connection. But maybe when you've seen it a few times, it starts to grow on you. I don't know.
Well, we was kind of talking about that on Pop After Dark the other day. Not that, but the fact that when you do something for the first time, sometimes by trying to take it all in, you don't really get the connection you may have been expecting for it. I mean, how many times did you go on Flight of the Navy?
Twice.
And I mean, did you feel the same both times, or would you say?
Blown away right away. First time, amazing, and then second time, just as good. So that's a definite, knock out of the park. But
yeah, because I hear still quite a lot of disappointment in the river attraction. I mean, to be honest, I'm not surprised. Like, it's exactly what I expected it to be. What I've seen of it and what people have said. I don't know what else people were expecting. It wasn't going to be a complete thrill ride.
Like Pirates of the Caribbean on LSD.
Oh, it's a small one. Yeah,
without any of the little drops.
Yeah.
So I did expect it to be a little bit more than that, but I don't know exactly what I expected, but some kind of little surprise or thrill, even if it is just a couple of little drops. I think it's pleasant, it's nice, it's clever,
I think that's why there isn't those things, because it's supposed. As I understand it, I've not been, so this is my understanding of the whole thing. But I thought the whole Pandora experience was to give you a taste of this world, and the world is supposed to be quite peaceful. So, with that said, it kind of makes sense that you get that attraction that is like it is, and Flight of the Navy, you see that in a film. So even though it's that's supposed to be the kind of thrill, that's how they get their kicks on Pandora. It's supposed to be quite a
that and the sex tales.
So what's that? That
and the sex tales.
Woohoo!
That's how they get the kicks in Pandora.
That is very true. So I get it, but I think what's surprising to me is now it's more open. Is I hear a lot of people say how much they love Flight of the Navy, and yet when it was kind of open in soft previews, you got a lot of people going, "Oh no, I'm really disappointed in it." So it's quite surprising, I think, that I can get not being blown away on the first time, although most people are blown away on the first time of it. But the kind of disappointment from the Disney community in the soft opening stages of it, and now it's open to the masses, it seems to have completely flipped. And in fact, it's kind of similar to Guardians Mission Breakout, in that when people were going to like the early previews for that, you got a lot of people on Twitter going, it's what a load of crap. They should have kept the Tower of Terror, and now it's open. Everyone's like, when are we getting it? Around the world, all the Disney parks are like, when are we getting that? Because it looks like so much fun, and the feedback has been really positive towards it. So, it's strange. I think how the opinions can change like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. The funny thing is, we went to see the new fireworks show, and we thought that was good. We'd just seen The Last Wishes, so we were probably a bit influenced by that. The Last Wishes, Goodbye Wishes, and it's quite an emotional night, that. But then a couple of nights later, we saw the new Happily Ever After now, I think it is. And we liked it. We thought it was very good. But then a couple of nights later, we were in the Magic Kingdom. It was towards the end of the holiday, and we thought, there's only 5 minutes to go. Let's just stand at the back and we'll watch it again without any big queue or whatever. So we did, and we agreed at the end of it that actually it is really good. It's different from Wishes, but it's probably as good as Wishes. And so I think very often, second, third time, you do appreciate it. And we were exactly the same with the Escape from Gringotts ride. We rode it the first time and we thought, yeah, it's good, but it's too short. And then we went back again and we thought, well, no, it's actually really good. And it's definitely grown on us. But we didn't feel like that about Flight of Passage. We just loved that right away.
Yeah. You never saw Disney Dreams, did you, at Disneyland Paris?
I thought I saw a Christmas version of it.
Oh, yes.
With Olaf.
That's right, yes you did.
Yeah.
Now, Paul, you obviously have seen Dreams quite a few times.
Yeah.
And you got to see Illuminations. Have you seen Happily Ever After yet?
I have watched Happily Ever After, yes.
Now, a lot of people are disappointed with Illuminations, and just to be clear, that's the Disneyland Paris Illuminations. That's not the same as the Epcot show. That's replaced Disney Dreams, of which you would say that Happily Ever After is probably quite heavily influenced on, actually. But what do you think, Paul, about Illuminations and Happily Ever After, and how they kind of compare to Dreams?
As you said, Happily Ever After is very much influenced by Dreams. It hasn't got the water fountains in front of the castle like Paris has. But is this right, Paul, that they are projecting stuff on Main Street as well?
I don't know, Paul.
I heard someone saying that they've been like they did at Disneyland for the 60th anniversary. There's stuff being projected down Main Street as well. So I don't know whether that's right or not. But
I wasn't aware of that.
If they are, then that's definitely a step up from Dreams. Illuminations is good. I'll go and watch it again. I've only seen it once. I'll go and watch it again when I'm over in September. Just because I filmed most of it, so I kind of watched it through a lens. But kind of tried to step back and take a lot of it in. The projection stuff's still a fantastic achievement. It certainly, I think it is a step up from Dreams in those terms. The show itself, I wouldn't say is quite as heart-wrenching as Dreams probably was. It doesn't quite get you the same way that it did. But I think a lot of these shows are using the same clips and songs. There doesn't seem to be a lot of difference between what they're using, which is a shame. And I'm sure it is. It's down to the fact that the same guy is producing all of these shows. So, but yeah, Happily Ever After is probably the best one out of the two at the moment. I would say, having even not seen it live, having watched it on YouTube quite a lot, and even the song's better. After the overall song, the Happily Ever After song, I've got that on my phone. I listen to that quite regularly, even though I haven't seen the show live. But the song is definitely along the lines of a Disney classic, even though it's using obviously two contemporary artists. It's very much in the same vein as what you'd expect from Disney over the years. Yeah,
that's interesting what you say about the projection. I didn't realise that, because obviously if you don't know there's something behind you, you're just 100% focused on the castle. So yeah, I missed something there. In terms of looking at it through a lens, I got a GoPro a couple of years ago, and I got this little clip which allows you to clip it onto the peak of your baseball cap, and then I got a little remote in my pocket, and it's great because you don't have to look through a screen. It's got a wide angle lens. The only problem is you look like a complete dickhead, but I've never let that bother me.
No, I don't think anyone on this podcast has, to be completely honest. I think we've kind of escaped from that one.
Yeah.
Mr. Dubs.
I've got a couple more bits. First up, today in Shanghai, they unveiled their new stage show, their new castle show.
Yes, I saw some photos from this.
Called Summer Blast. And it also involved the debut of a new face character. Well, not even a face character. Another one of those weird-looking mask characters in Maui from Moana made his debut today and looked really bizarre.
I've got to be honest, until that was pointed out in an article, and I've not seen a close-up photo, I've only seen quite a long-distance photo, so to me he actually looked quite good, but I hadn't actually realised, I don't know how, that he hadn't been in the parks.
Yeah. It was his debut anywhere.
It's crazy. Mm-hmm. But of course, once someone said that, I was like, oh yeah, I've not seen him anywhere else.
No.
It does seem strange, It's quite a good movie. Quite a popular movie.
Well, I mean, they keep bringing Moana back. I mean, she was replaced with... well, I think she was replaced in Disney World as well, but she was replaced in March, I think, at Disneyland Paris with Belle, whilst Beauty and the Beast was out. But due to popular demand, she's coming back at the beginning of July. So I think Belle's going back to the Princess Pavilion. So I mean Moana's. It's weird because it's not been. It was successful, very successful, but it didn't seem to be. It wasn't as big as things like Frozen, anywhere near that really. But it seems to have really kind of picked up steam over time. I'd say. I think it's one that maybe didn't have quite the impact Frozen did, but its longevity has made it kind of stand out. I mean, I remember when...
It definitely doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
No.
For sure.
That's what I mean. I mean, when I didn't go to see it at the cinema, and in fact, hands up, I still haven't seen Moana all the way through. I mean, I
haven't seen any of it.
Well, I have seen it, but I mean in fractions. So I've seen the whole film, just not in one sitting. And when my wife took my daughters to go and see it, and she come back, I was like, what do you think? She's like, oh, it was all right. And yet now, having watched it a further 100 times with my daughter and son at home, she loves it. She thinks it's probably even better than Frozen, and quite often the songs will be on in the car, and I do really like the soundtrack. I mean, Frozen was good, and I think Frozen's problem really is how obsessed everybody got with the soundtrack and all the merchandise, and I certainly got a bit sick of it myself. But Moana still feels quite fresh, and I do think the songs are really good in it. Yeah. And it's good. I'd definitely recommend it. If you haven't seen it, I'd definitely recommend it, even though I've not seen it all the way through. The Rock's brilliant in it. It's just got some very good songs, some very good voice actors in it, and it is good. But I'm starting to see more Moana merchandise. It's quite weird because when the film came out, there was lots of it, like there always is for a Disney release. But there seems to have been a resurgence in it recently. So I think it might stay around for a while.
Yeah,
I do. But
I think you're right.
It'd be interesting to see if they bring Maui to the other parts. I'm sure they're not just going to keep him in Shanghai, surely.
Wouldn't think
Well,
so.
hopefully Disneyland Paris will get him. Now that they don't have to pay licensing fees for characters.
Speaking of which, I got my. I haven't. It's still sat in the account, but I got all my money yesterday. I got a notification from my share dealers that I'd got all my money. So that was the money that I'd actually traded. So all the shares that I traded for, and then the additional one share, which I didn't, but then they they had to compulsory buy from me. So that was all my share money was deposited all in one foul swoop.
Yeah, I got an email yesterday. I haven't read it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it was less than I was hoping, less than I wanted, but it was what it was. So,
Yeah, you don't get much choice, eh?
That's it exactly. That's it. But yeah. What was the other thing, Paul?
The other thing was that permits have been approved in LA for George Lucas's Museum of Narrative Arts in Exposition Park, where it's going to house the Lucas collection. So all his stuff that he's got left over from the films and everything that he's collected over the years.
Wow.
So it's actually going ahead, and they said that the ground will be broken in early next year.
Wow.
So it looks like Disney didn't get hold of everything. Looks like George kept a lot of it.
Do you think he stuck it on a blockade and shot it off whilst Darth Vader was looking for it?
I think so.
Possibly.
Yeah.
In a rescue pod. I wish people were interested in all the crap I've got in the attic and would pay money to come and see it. That'd be great.
Maybe they will.
I got some good stuff up there.
Maybe they. You never know.
Yeah.
To be honest, Paul, when you said about filing permits, until you then said the words LA, I thought you were going to talk about the permits in Epcot.
Yeah, so did I.
I didn't know whether we were going to talk about that tonight or on the next episode when we've got everybody.
Sod that.
Yeah.
We can't talk about it.
That, okay. I've got the notes for that as well.
Look, the only reason why I say sod that is not, we know Amanda really wanted to talk about it. Sorry, Amanda. But you're not here. But if we leave it until the next show, it's going to be old news.
It'll be built by that time.
It could even be built by that time. That is possible. But yeah, so do you want to talk about the permits?
I can do. I've got the notes here. So the rumours were sparked once again that more permits were being filed for the back of Ellen.
Not literally the back of Ellen. Ellen's Energy Adventure.
Yeah. In that area where I think is it a staff car park? A cast member car park is on the back of that.
Yes, apparently I didn't realise, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
So more permits were filed for that, and permits were filed for behind, I believe, the Three Caballeros ride, if I remember rightly. No, in fact, it wasn't. I'm talking rubbish there. I've got the wrong notes written down. It was France,
yes,
where the other permits were filed. Many believing that would be for the Ratatouille ride that's currently in Disneyland Paris.
Mm-hmm.
It was for rebuilding of water distribution behind these two buildings. It's now actually come out that it's got absolutely nothing to do with attractions. It's actually for the gondola system.
That's an attraction.
Well, it's not the attraction.
Transportation.
It's not the attraction that everyone was expecting to be announced at D23. That's for sure. Because that's
the Guardians of Ellen's Back Passage. That's what you were expecting, wasn't it?
So yes, it's for the gondola system that's going to run from Caribbean Beach Resort. This is what the permits are for. It's to move the water distribution so they can put the pylons in.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously, now we know that's what they've said. The internet was kind of awash with rumours a few days ago. Now we've heard rumours about Rock and Roller Coaster being rethemed to Guardians. Of course, the most popular theory was actually the Guardians attraction was going to be replacing Ellen's Energy Adventure, because of how big that land is around it, and expanding the building. But I think everybody's got it in their heads, and Jim Hill's, well, has talked about this before, but everyone had in their head that it was going to be, in France, a Ratatouille attraction. They were going to take the attraction that we've got at Walt Disney Studios in Paris and put that in Epcot. That's what the rumour was.
And I still believe it will happen at some point.
I don't think it will.
Well, I don't know whether it'll be the exact ride. I think they may get something else based on Ratatouille.
See, that's where I don't agree. Now, Jim is a much more intelligent person than us. He's got more knowledge than most of us as well. But, personally, when I think of France, I don't think of Ratatouille. I think of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, see, I think that, and I also think the Aristocats.
No one likes the Aristocats. Well,
I don't mind them.
Cat lovers do.
There's at least one good song in there.
Yeah, I just don't like cats.
Yeah.
But if you think, like, Beauty and the Beast is one of their most beloved animated films of all time, and it's now a massively successful, live action film. By far the biggest live action film that they've done. I don't care if Alice in Wonderland made more money, although it's got to be getting up close now as to which ones earn more. Massively, massively popular. And there was supposed to be a Beauty and the Beast attraction. I mean, I don't know the history in Disney World, but I know that there definitely was supposed to be a Beauty and the Beast attraction for Disneyland Paris. For, the second or third year it was open, they were supposed to build one, and obviously, for various reasons, that didn't happen. But there was definitely scale models made of the attraction, and there were blueprints. So I wonder if it's still on the back burner, because that, to me, Ratatouille was I don't even rate it that much, to be honest. I always thought it was one of the more average Pixar films. Gets a lot of love, but I mean,
yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
I've got a soft spot for it.
It's not bad, but I mean, Brad Bird also made The Incredibles.
Yeah,
I'd much rather sit and watch The
Incredibles
Incredibles than Ratatouille. And there's an Incredibles 2. Where's Ratatouille 2? It's a bit of a tongue twister. To me, it just doesn't sit right. In Disneyland Paris, where they've put it in the studios and they've made that whole land around it based around Ratatouille, I think it works really well. But I think an attraction just by itself, I think Beauty and the Beast is a much better option. Yes, you've got the problem of Beast Castle being in Fantasyland and that, but I think they're clever enough to get around that.
You got Enchanted Tales with Belle there, and Gaston's Tavern as well. It's quite a lot of Beauty and the Beast stuff, but yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, but I mean the thing is, if they focus it on the live action film, then that would completely change it as well. I just think that would be a better fit, and having gone on Ratatouille, I think they don't need it over there.
It's not as good as people make it out to be.
Look, you got Spider-Man down the road. It's 20 years old and better than Ratatouille.
Yeah.
Don't put in in Paris. I think it gets a lot of love because there's not many. Well, I don't know if there's any other attractions like that in Europe.
I think it's more the fact that it's the first attraction they've had in about 10 years.
Well, that as well. But do you know what I mean? Like, because you've got Spider-Man and even Transformers that are very similar types of rides, you don't need it in Florida. And why open a poor man's version of those attractions when you can open something completely new?
Crush's Coaster down by the Living Seas. That's what you want.
That is true.
But you've already got a lot of Crush stuff there, I suppose. You got the little ride that takes you in, and then you've got Talk to Talk with Crush.
But I mean, the rumour is that is it the next 5 years? There's going to be a massive character explosion on Epcot.
Yeah.
Which isn't a euphemism, Craig. So stop thinking about it. But, you know, so maybe we will see more of these IPs. Do you think we'll hear anything at D23, or do you think it's too early?
No, I don't think it is too early. I think the fact that they're actually going to show off Star Wars Land this time, I think they have to have that new thing for them. And Epcot is the obvious place now.
Yeah.
I
They've
think,
got to
I
do
think
something
we'll probably
with Epcot.
I think we'll probably get the same sort of thing that we got at the last D23 regarding Star Wars Land.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Where you'll get an announcement and some like artist rendering, and that'll be about it.
Yeah. That's all you need. I mean, I know a lot of people are, you know, save our Epcot. But to be honest, like, I know why people love Epcot, but it always feels a little bit strange compared to the other gates. Because of the types of attractions there. Because there aren't the IPs there. And I know, you know, a park doesn't need to have IPs, but when your brand is Disney, to not really do that, not really benefit on those IPs. And, you know, let's look at how popular that Frozen attraction is. You know, that's
was an overlay.
Yeah. You know, when you can do that and make that part of the park really popular, that's got to make them go, you know what, we need to do more here. So, yeah. Sorry, original Epcot lovers.
Tron Coaster. That's what they should bring that Tron Coaster to help, you know, put that in Future World, and then it's still somewhat connected to the theme, I think.
Yep.
You know, something like that, or Guardians of the Galaxy. I'd like that for two reasons. One is I quite like a new Guardians of the Galaxy ride, and two, you believe in my Tower of Terror alone. And Rock and Roller Coaster. Don't start pissing about with that now. It's going to get me angry.
The rumour for that is that's not even Guardians of the Galaxy anymore.
No.
Another Mr. Hill announcement the other week on his podcast that's likely to become a Monsters Inc. coaster.
Oh, Monsters Inc.
Which makes absolutely no bloody sense at all.
No.
I was waiting for that, Nick.
It doesn't.
Yeah, well, it doesn't. It's not. You know, Pixar places up the other end.
It's going to take over that
film.
It's going to take over that whole thing. They're going to knock the animation building down.
Yeah.
And it's going to become Monstropolis, apparently.
But then, what's the point of like? So what are you going to do? The Tower of Terror, move it slightly?
They'll just block it off.
You can't block it off. It's too bloody tall. But Monsters Inc. is not a film franchise for a roller coaster. Not a roller coaster as intense as Rock and Roller Coaster.
It could be the door thing. Wasn't there a rumour at one point they were going to make some kind of ride based on the door scene?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Jim thinks it is.
Yeah.
You mean that ride scene, that famous scene with the doors where there are no inversions, corkscrews or loops?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
So we go from Aerosmith to the Doors.
Boom
tish.
Very, very good, Mr. Lee. Very, very good. Right, there's just one last thing that I wanted to talk about.
Do you want to talk about the Mummy? I saw it at the weekend, but go ahead, Nick.
Oh, so save it for Amanda.
Right.
She's. I think. I don't know if Mr. Ripley's seen it, but Amanda definitely has, and she'll definitely be able to give you some talking about that. But coming next month, when's the actual date of it? 3rd of July, so it's coming up very, very soon indeed. Is a animated short series, it looks like, called Star Wars Forces of Destiny. Now, has anyone seen this before?
No.
I saw mention of it earlier, but I didn't look at it.
Oh, you've not seen anything? Because I've seen a couple of trailers now, just by accident, not before even realising what it was. But it's very interesting, the concept, and it's ideal for people like me. And I'll explain why. So first of all, the animation is very similar, I think, to the original Clone Wars. So I'm not talking about the Cartoon Network version. I'm talking about the original was Cartoon Network as well. I mean, the one that was done by the bloke behind Dexter's Lab, Gendy, whatever his name is. But that kind of style of it before it became like CG, but that more refined art style that's similar to like Samurai Jack. So that's the animation style of it. It is all about the women of Star Wars, and that's why I'm getting excited about it, because this is something I will be able to go and sit down with my daughter and watch. Now, she loves the idea of Star Wars, but she's still a little bit young to watch the films. So she's asked to put them on a few times, and I put on like A New Hope, and she'll sit there and kind of watch it for a little bit, but then she kind of gets a bit preoccupied, and then we'll go off and play with some toys or something. But she likes the idea of Star Wars. So this, to me, it seems to be an ideal way of getting her involved, because one, it's a cartoon, which is always easier for kids to get into, but it's going to be focused on the women. So it's going to feature Jin Uso. What's her name? Jin from Rogue One, anyway. Rey from The Force Awakens, and Princess Leia as well. Leia's not voiced by Carrie Fisher, and she wasn't going to be. So it's not the plans have changed so much, but it was original trilogy Leia rather than Force Awakens Leia. So obviously her voice is different, so that was always going to be the case. But both Rey and Jin are voiced by Daisy and Felicity Jones, isn't it? So they're going back to do their roles. Who was the Yoda in Force Awakens? Was it Maz?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maz Kanata.
Yeah. So she's the main character. She can't. But what it looks like is she's telling these stories, these folklores about the characters. So she's kind of the focus of the show. So she's kind of introducing these kind of stories, it looks like. But there's also going to be crossovers with other Star Wars characters. So Shoko Tano as well. And who's the... So I've never really... You've started watching Rebels, haven't you?
Yes. There's a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name.
Oh, is it Sabine?
Yes.
Yes. So in one of the trailers, you get a scene where she is talking to Episode 4 Leia. Now, Rebels is obviously set just before Episode 4, isn't it?
Yes.
I think. So that will obviously bridge that kind of gap. I don't know when that scene takes place, like how near it is to Episode 4.
Leia's been in Rebels.
Oh, is she?
Yes.
Ah.
So it's probably around the same point. I think it was it season 2? They made an appearance.
Okay.
So yeah, they have met.
Oh, okay. So it's not such a big thing then. But it says Force of Destiny will premiere on July 3rd on Disney's YouTube channel, and then we'll continue with a 2-part TV special comprised of 8 short stories on the Disney Channel in the fall. So, and yeah, it just confirms that Daisy Ridley, Ashley Eckstein's voice in Ashoka, also John Boyega's doing Finn. So he'll obviously have a small part as well, but I think the main focus will be on Rey. But it looks good. It looks good, and I think it's nice that they're... I suppose they're following the trend at the moment of things like... is it Superhero Girls? Is that a DC thing?
Yes, I believe so.
I've seen like 5 minutes of one of the cartoons because it was like the animation was a bit poor, but I've seen the toys everywhere. But where they're kind of focusing the emphasis on the females rather than just the male characters. So obviously trying to appeal to a different demographic. And I think I hope it works. I hope it works well. But for any dads that have got little girls or even bigger girls who may not be as obsessed with Star Wars as you are, this could be the introduction that gets them onto that path. So yeah, I don't know when it's going to be shown in the UK. I imagine that on the Disney YouTube channel it will be available globally. It didn't say that it was going to be restricted, but I'm not sure when they'll actually show it on the Disney channel in the UK. But I'll keep you posted. And that silence suggests to me that nobody else has got anything to talk about.
I think we're all out of news.
Yeah.
I know it was quite a lot of news, to be fair, though. I mean, from somebody who said that there was nothing to talk about, we've got quite a bit. And in fact, we've gone on so long, we've not even got into the questions that people had asked for the show.
No.
So, we're very sorry. This is what happens when I'm just here and we haven't got somebody like a man to whip us into shape. So, what we'll do is on next week's episode, in less than a week, there'll be a new Dis After Dark. And on that episode, we will go through your questions and comments and reply back to you. So that'll be the main focus. I think that's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've been talking long enough. I don't think people really want to hear us go on for another half an hour or so. So we'll save it for next week. But
sounds good.
With that in mind, thank you, Paul. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe. Just in case you've not been getting our episodes recently, please subscribe. It's the best way of making sure that you do get new episodes. Plus, it bumps up our ratings, so thank you very much. Visit us on Patreon, and we will see you with another episode of Dis After Dark in the next 7 days.
See you real soon.
Mary Poppins, y'all.
Bye. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. If you would like to support Dis After Dark and the other After Dark Network podcasts, please visit our website at www.patreon.com/Dis After Dark. That's patreon.com/Dis After Dark. Thank you. This podcast is part of the After Dark Podcast Network.